Good evening, hello and welcome to this special broadcast. I'm Anusha Soni. On this special show tonight, we are narrating the story of a professor at the St. Xavier's University in Kolkata. Now, about a year ago, before she officially joined the university, the professor had posted some pictures in a swimming trunk on her personal Instagram profile. Somehow, much later, a student got access to these pictures and the parents of the student made a complaint to the university. According to the complainant, the university forced her to quit after much humiliation and character assassination. This entire incident leads us to multiple questions. First, whether the college or the administration dealt with the incident fairly. Can women continue to be morally policed and shamed for what they choose to wear, and more importantly, for how long the burden of a predatory, regressive male gaze will be put on women? Well, I had an exclusive conversation with the professor here. We refrained from disclosing her identity. She also requested that her audio be not used because she is in a legal battle. Hence, the audio has been recreated to narrate her verbatim interview that she gave to CNN News18 yesterday. I'm very sorry for everything that you're going through. This is indeed a very difficult situation to handle. I want to know from you, what are you planning? Are you planning to file a complaint in terms of what has happened or with the kind of harassment that you've faced?
I am contemplating legal action. I can't go into the details right now since this is a developing matter. I don't wish to go into any specific details, but I do intend to continue down the legal path.
I don't intend to make you repeat everything traumatic that you have gone through, but this must be a very difficult period for your family. Tell us about this incident.
It has been for a while, but I'm glad actually that the story is getting this much attraction and this much interest. It has been a traumatic time for the past several months, but over the past few days, I have also received a lot of support. That is heartening.
You're a progressive, cultured and educated woman. You were teaching at a premier institute. Did you expect that at this day and age, such a controversy would erupt?
I mean, stepping into a Christian institution, I know they have a tendency of policing women's bodies and their choices, but in my wildest dreams, I did not expect it would extend to private life, especially their conduct even before joining the university. I did not have an idea that there would be a dress code and this is a certain way you are expected to conduct yourself in class and so on. I didn't think our classes would be recorded, but this was unprecedented. Like even in the most regressive institutions, I really don't see how what I do outside the university premise, outside of service hours, and in my own personal life, how that can come within any place.
I wonder how the teacher could be held accountable for the mindset of a student. I think it's the most regressive and patriarchal idea that one can think about.
I mean, of course, the fact that they took the side of the student blindly, I don't even know if the complaint was vetted because the university kept claiming that the pictures were provided to them and I kept insisting that these pictures must have been leaked and they did not bother investigating that. The entire crux of their argument was, as a woman, how could you even take pictures like that? So beyond the point, any kind of timeline, the date of uploading didn't matter because what happened was really like a witch hunt.
Have they taken any kind of action against the student or any kind of warning that they have given to the student?
The identity of the student or the complainant was never disclosed. Even when I sent a legal notice asking for a number of documents, they have just responded. They reproduced the text of the complainant via email. I still have not seen the complaint and they did not furnish any other documents and they asked me to pay 99 crore.
Well, that was one of the excerpt of the interview we had. Of course, the audio of the victim and the complainant, in this case, the ex-professor, has been recreated. We want to tell you the story, how this actually unfolded, what exactly happened, what are the key issues that emerged, how did the university respond. First of all, the picture was posted before joining the university. On Instagram, it was a status that disappears after some time. Now, the argument of the ex-professor in this case is that how did the student actually have access to those pictures because they had disappeared from the social profile unless somebody had hacked into her account. Now, all these arguments were not taken up. Proof the professor was told to resign. She was asked to pay 99 crore as damages because according to the institute, some kind of reputational damage has really happened. Now, my Insta profile is private. How did the student get access? More importantly, those pictures were supposed to disappear. So unless somebody has actually hacked into her account, nobody could have really gotten the access, and this raises privacy issues. Improper social media behavior. Wearing what you want to in public domain outside the university campus, is that really inappropriate social behavior? This was an assault on my mental health and her character. That's what the victim has said. The university stand is that this is an immense, irreparable damage done to the institution's reputation. How exactly is something that a court of law is going to decide in a matter like this? So these have been the arguments on both the sides. The professor says that she was not even properly heard. Her case was not given a proper hearing before an ICC, which is mandated under the Vishakha guidelines. It's also a case for free expression. What one does outside the professional arena is one's business. Your fundamental rights, Article 14, 21 are not suspended just because you're teaching at an educational institute. Of course, you've not done an offence of moral turpitude. Obscene for student to see a picture of teachers in scanty clothes on a public platform. Many would argue that this entire mindset of a male student watching a female teacher is a male gaze argument. You really cannot uphold such arguments in the 21st century. It's gross and criminal violation of right to privacy, upheld in the Puttaswamy judgment as a fundamental right in this country, all pervasive under Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. Pristine image of Xavier's University has been hurt. All these arguments about defamation have to be proven in a court of law. The university also says that it was improper and obscene behavior by the teacher. The teacher says she was never given a proper hearing and her private photos were used as a tool to harass her by the university and her administration. Her side of the story was not really heard. These are the arguments on both the sides. More importantly, is this a case of moral policing that we're talking about? We also spoke to Jhuma Sen. She is the complainant's lawyer in this case. I want to cut across to Jhuma and get her word as well about what exactly is happening. Jhuma, thank you so much for speaking to us. What are the legal steps that the victim shall be taking and what are the remedies available to her in law as far as this entire incident is concerned?
See, there is already a legal step that has been taken, and that is an FIR has been filed. She had filed a complaint last year, and it was converted to an FIR.
Yeah.
So the investigation is ongoing. So of course, I cannot really speak much on that because the investigation is still under progress. As far as further and future remedies that are concerned, we have filed my client sent a legal notice through me, and this was sometime in March, to which we received a response. Again, I think very late March or early April. It's a matter of public record, so I'm not getting too much into it. But what we had asked for specifically, and this is something that anyone in such a situation and under the circumstances is entitled to, was constituting an IC, and we had asked for an institution of an inquiry committee within the meaning of the sexual harassment policy under the University Grants Commission's guidelines. This is the 2015 regulations, and the Sexual Harassment Act, which is the POSH law as well. That was, there was no response as far as that went. And we will be taking appropriate writ remedies as applicable in the appropriate forum very soon.
Yeah. Jhuma, I understand this is a matter which is sub judice, so not much can be spoken about the merits of the case. But broadly speaking, in today's day and age, in the world of social media, how critical is it for women to guard their right to privacy? How critical and perhaps delicate it has become for them?
Like I always say, law can only go as far and not further. Law, there is a limitation to what one can do with law, certainly. And privacy, I think that the nature and the definition of social, I mean, not the social media, but of our day-to-day lives on social media, that has considerably changed over the last few decades, with different tools coming into place. We earlier we had Facebook, and now there's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so on and so forth. And the law has tried to keep itself updated with that, but what is at stake here is that although the law has tried to keep itself updated with the changes in life and the changes in society and the changes in reality, it has not really percolated down to the law enforcement agencies. It has not really percolated down to our judicial officers. A lot of training needs to be done. A lot of sensitization needs to be done. The law enforcement officers need to understand the distinction between the private and the public sphere, and there is a generic understanding, which is a completely flawed understanding, that the internet is a public sphere. We are not talking in terms of the internet. Instagram, for example, a private Instagram account, and I'm speaking here not as an advocate, representing the client, and I should not. But I'm speaking as generally, if you ask me of my legal opinion, and there is a distinction between internet in a generic sense and social media like Instagram or Facebook, and there is a certain manner in which information, data is shared. Of course, the information that I upload, the image that I upload on social media, on Instagram, or what I speak on social media, if it is a private account, it is not. It should not be subject to the same scrutiny as if it were if it was something update, something on an open blocks sphere, for example. So the law has moved, but I mean the law, if one looks at the changes in the IT rules, the law has tried to kind of catch up, but not but not so far. And the law enforcement agencies and our judicial officers, I think it's just a matter of opinion. I think it is there's a far more catching up to do.
Far more catching up to do. Broadly and legally speaking, to what extent can institutions, say education institutions in this case, control your individual choices of dressing, how you appear in public? I mean, inside the institute one can understand, but outside, to what extent can they have any degree of control?
An institutional norm, even if many institutions, they do have their the code of conduct as far as dress codes go, dress codes, hostel hours, and so on and so forth. But an institution, we have to remember that an educational institution is not, even if it's a private institution, it is discharging a public function. So its codes, its rules cannot be arbitrary, they cannot be discriminatory. It's as fundamental as that. So an institutional logic that you will be aware of the Pinjra Tod, in Delhi campuses, an institutional logic that suggests that university spaces, hostels, for that matter, should have different curfew hours for women, for the women residents as opposed to their male residents. Of course, it smacks of arbitrariness. It smacks of discrimination, and that is something that needs to be taken care of at the institutional level. I don't know how much law can do, of course, unless someone is like taking that particular offensive policy to the court. I think the challenge really boils down to in what manner the student body and the faculty body, how they are engaging with the institution.
Is hoping for a more equitable legal, fraternity, and also a society in which we all live in. Thank you, Juma, for joining us on the broadcast and getting us that perspective. While taking that question to our guest as well, Abha Singh, who's a lawyer, is joining us on the broadcast. We also have Brinda Adige, who's a women and child rights activist. Nirmal Kaur, who has been a former IPS officer, is also joining us on the broadcast. I thank all of you for joining us on the show today. Brinda ji, I'm coming to you first. What women do in their personal life, or if you're a university professor, you cannot be wearing a swimsuit, and if a male student is looking at that picture, that offends the sentiment of a parent and the entire university. Are we really living in the 21st century?
We are in the 21st century, certainly, but it is bizarre on the part of the parent to make a complaint of this nature instead of actually talking with her son. How did the son get access to those photos? I'm sure he would have bought it from somebody.
Yeah.
And if this son has got access to this photographs and has been watching it, is this son of hers, that student, not watching anything else? Because we know that on TV, on movies, on social media, name it, wherever it may be, you have these kind of photos that are galore. And is she going to control all of that? Who is she trying to control? And a college like St. Xavier's calling itself premier, what is their retrograde, regressive, misogynistic thinking and behavior? It is a teacher during college. In college, she did not do anything like that. She has gone out, she has gone for a swim, and of course she will wear a swimsuit. She can't wear a sari or a salwar kameez and go around swimming. And like she explained, this is a private account. So I'm sure she has no students on her account.
Yeah.
So somebody else has sold it to the student and the student has bought it.
You're right, Brindaji. There is an element that her social media accounts were hacked, because she also said that these pictures, even when they were available about a year ago, were available only for a brief period of time. It was a status. It disappears. How come the student had access to those pictures? And very interestingly, the identity of the complainant student has been hidden by the university all along. The complainant professor doesn't really know about it. I want to bring in Abha Singh also, who's a lawyer. Abha, women navigate into different social and public spaces, and we are always conscious of what we are wearing, how we are appearing, how much do we cover up. The male gaze is a very real aspect of life in the South Asian subcontinent here, and also here in India. But the male gaze cannot be stretched to a point where your conduct is criminalized. I think that's exactly what has happened in this case.
Absolutely. In fact, if you see, voyeurism was made an offense, 354D, that if you're watching a woman in her private action, in fact, in a place where you should not be watching, that has been made an offense. But in this case, if I come specifically, I would call this teacher a victim.
Yes.
Because even if she put her the swimming costume picture, that was in her private capacity outside office hours, and that was in her personal space. And if it gets stolen, if it gets hacked, you have to take her as a victim, not someone who's flamboyant if you try to say that she's a teacher and she should be prim and proper. Secondly, if the code of conduct when she joined the appointment, were these do's and don'ts mentioned in her job profile, that she's supposed to behave like this? If she's not supposed to, if these were not mentioned, then she cannot be penalized for that. That is point number 2. Point number 3, because the university has gone and thrown her out of the job, she should file a case and say that I was wrongly terminated, and she should file a suit instead and ask for compensation. In fact, there is a case which I'm fighting for a client of mine, and we've asked for 62 crores of compensation. Also, where the university comes and says that you've destroyed our reputation and the university is asking for damages, it is not so easy. The university cannot just decide. There is a proper procedure. The university will have to show how its reputation was spoiled. And here, when we talk of 499 of the IPC, which talks of damaging of a reputation, it talks of damaging a reputation of a person. Nowhere it talks of an institute.
Abaji, do you also want to comment on the fact the complainant's lawyer said that a committee should have been formed under the POSH guidelines? An internal committee should have been formed and they should have looked at all the evidences. The fact that such a committee was not formed, according to the complainant, how big of an offense it is?
POSH law cannot come here because it is not the women who was, like she was not sexually assaulted or somebody made a comment on her.
The complaint, Abaji, she is making is that her pictures were downloaded from the internet. They were also morphed in some ways. They were circulated in the university campus, and there was a lot of intimidation and humiliation she had to go through. And on that account, she says that I was protected.
That she even lodged an FIR that her account was hacked. Had she, her account was hacked, somebody has taken away, so that will be a criminal offense.
Exactly.
Which she will
Let me take those points to Nirmal Kaur as well. Nirmal ji, I want to take the point forward that Abha Singh said. Suppose I put out a picture on social media media. I'm working in an educational institution, or I'm working in this institution, and that's my private life. It's a private social media account. My friends have access to it. I get to know that someday somebody has downloaded it and circulated it. What are my remedies? How can the police help me?
See, about this social media presence, all the institutions, almost all the institutions, everyone I know of, they have very specific do's and don'ts. They have a code of conduct, and it depends on what the college code of conduct is. And, you know, and as a society also, our attitude towards nudity, towards exposure, it's very ambivalent. And, you know, this has to be contextual. You cannot, you know, in vacuum decide what is, you know, obscene, what is not, what is appropriate, what is not. The reputations, again, of the individual, reputation of the institution, all that is very, very relevant. The case is sub judice now, and I think, you know, it's not only about being female. Recently, we had this case, a lot being discussed in the media about a male film star, a very well-known film star, where his pictures appeared, you know, showing his abs and all that, and it was objected to. So I think as a society, you know, and social media is like the new commons, you know, the global commons. Just say, you know, in the olden times, we had the Chaupal or the Akhada or the village square, the town square. Social media is something like that. So how you want to present yourself, you know, what reputation you build, whether it is, you know, what you are sharing on the social media. A lot of privacy issues are also involved here. So I think since the matter is sub judice, I'm sure the court will examine all these issues with it. The only thing is, I would say we'll have to keep our culture in mind, our Guru Shishya Parampara in mind, and also the institution. The issues should be decided as per the law, as per the constitution, not as per the, you know, the Catholic code or, you know, anything else. As per the law, the courts will decide the issue. And I'm sure the discussion, it will be discussed at length, and all the various aspects will be gone into.
Brinda Adigi, I want to come to you. There's a point, there's an argument that Nirmal Kaurji is making that, you know, if you're in an institution, you dress accordingly. If I go to court every day as a reporter, then I have to dress accordingly. There are rules of propriety and decency, sometimes written, sometimes unwritten, we all follow. But where does it become policing versus, you know, propriety norms that everybody follows, irrespective whether you're a man or a woman?
See, in any institution, in any office, there is a decorum, and all of them follow that decorum. But when something has happened in my private sphere, and in that sphere, you bring this out and then decide what my official, my professional characteristics are. That, I think, is absolutely wrong. How can an institution then take that up and say that now you have to go out? And I also object to Madam Kaur saying that there is a parampara, that there is a samskruti. Now this parampara and samskruti is always being thrust on women and nobody else. No one questions the man. Nobody ever challenges men on that parampara and that samskruti. So I think it is important for us to understand that there is a space, and in that space, there is a decorum that has been followed by this particular professor. Nothing has come up in that sphere. Something has happened in her private life, and I don't think anybody has a right to question that. Because today we know privacy is very lucid.
It is lucid.
But you take that and bring it to a office space and
Abaji,
say,
I want every woman on this. I want every woman hearing this broadcast to know that if I'm putting up a picture on social media exclusively for the consumption of my friends, it's a private account. Not every person has access to it, and somebody downloads that image, misuses it, or causes some kind of humiliation to me as a woman. What are my remedies in law?
In fact, you know, there are, you know, what we talk of the cyber crime, which is on the rise. It is cyber bullying. It is also called cyber stalking. So if somebody was stalking her, like as you said about sexual harassment at workplace, if she feels that some colleague of hers was stalking her and he took those pictures and he put it out in the social media or wherever, she has a right to go file an FIR under the IT Act. The IT Act comes into rescue, because if you have kept it in a close knit of friends, but it could be somebody known to you who had access to your account, has taken it out. So that also is there, but then it will have to be, the police will go check her IP address and see whether it has been leaked from where and how it went out. So that is important. But the bigger question is that after office hours, if she's worn a costume in a private space, she cannot be penalized by the university like this. And she has the access. In fact, she should go to the Labour Commission. She would go to the Labour Court and say, I was wrongly retrenched. This is the advice I would like to give her through you, that going to the court, rather than that the court will say, you go to the Labour Court, and where she has been wrongly terminated, she can always bring that and ask for compensation from the Labour Court.
So if your pictures are being misused, if you think that anything that you've put out on the internet without your authority is being used, you have legal rights and remedies as a man or a woman in this country. Abha Singh, Brinda Adige, Nirmal Kaul, thank you all for joining us on the broadcast and sharing your thoughts on this story of public importance that has emerged. Well, there are various institutions in this country that work to further the cause of women, to help them each time they face any kind of harassment or any kind of legal issues. The National Commission for Women, of course, is one of the top institutions. Rekha Sharma, who is the NCW Chairperson, is joining us on the broadcast. Rekha ji, thank you so much for speaking to us. This is a shocking case that has been reported wherein a professor in Kolkata has been asked to quit and sued for wearing a swimsuit and posting it on social media. Your first reaction to the story when you heard it?
Very, very unfortunate. Whereas we say that women have got the right, whatever she wants to wear. That professor is also a woman. Yes, she is a professor or a teacher, but she can wear anything, even a swimsuit. Even when she is in a swimming pool, she has to wear a swimsuit. And if the picture is on her personal account, nobody has the right to take out that picture. And that means if somebody has taken out the picture and distributed amongst others, it's a cyber crime. So in fact, the university should take action against the student who has taken the picture from her personal account and distributed it.
The argument of the complainant is that the institution has not just indulged in moral policing but has exceeded the mandate given to educational institutes. I wonder why women continue to face such moral policing and harassment in today's day and age.
First of all, I think we have to sensitize these university people, whosoever they are, because they are not gender sensitized. They don't know what are the rights of a woman and what action they should take when some picture is taken away from a personal account. They don't even know what is cyber crime. So they should know some kind of laws under which a woman is protected. And I think we again have to and rightly this woman is going to the court. She can come to us also because we will also be writing to the police to take action against that student who is taken the picture from her personal account. And also we will like to write to the university to review their whatever action they have taken against this woman. In fact, if she is going to the court against the university, that is the best thing.
So you're assuring, Rekha ji, that this kind of action will be initiated by the National Commission of Women. This is how you're going to support the victim.
I would like to tell her that she can send the details of the case to us and we will pursue her case with the university and with the police also.
All right, that's very heartening to know. I also want your view, legally speaking, socially and from the propriety point of view, how does one draw a line between individual autonomy versus the institutional rules?
If there is a dress code in the university, everybody has to wear that and adhere that dress code. But outside that university or institution, that is their life, what they are wearing or what they are not wearing. That is nobody's concern and nobody has the right to do moral policing on that. But yes, if there is a dress code in an institute, then they people who are attending the university, whether they are professors, teachers or students, they have to adhere that. But outside, nobody has got the right, and people, maybe some fringe groups or any institute or even police, they don't have any right to be after them on their dress, because there is no dress code outside the institution.
My last question to you, in the 21st century, are you shocked to hear about such instances? How far are we from the ideal of an equitable society for women?
Yes. When we talk about women's right and women empowerment, and such kind of incident happens, I really feel ashamed of our culture. On the name of culture, these people are doing. And I must say that no culture says that you have to trouble women on her dress code. You know, what she is wearing is her right. Her body is her right. How she behaves with her body, what she wears, that's her right.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rekha ji, for joining us on the broadcast. Completely run out of time. I have to hand it over to my colleague Shivani Gupta, who takes it forward.